All right, hi everybody. My name is AaronVan. I am a commercial food and beverage photographer, and we're here in my studio today in Orlando, Florida. We're going to be working with Platypod products today. I'm going to show you how I like to use them in my workflow. I have a creative brief from a company that I need to create a garlic parmesan shot for their packaging. So it's a small, tight scene, and I need a lot of flexibility to be able to get around this scene. And the Platypod products are going to come in handy in allowing me to work tight in my space while getting light into the areas that I really need to get light into to pinpoint and highlight, so that we can really drill into the details of the shot. So we're going to set this up, and we're going to be shooting tethered to the computer so we can see these images coming out, and I'm going to show you all the different ways that you can use these products in this kind of a workflow. So let's get started. I'm working with my Nikon D810 today, and we're going to hook this up to a Platypod Max. I really want this scene to look, or this product to look like it's heroed, like it's grand, like it's like huge, like a mountain. You know, we're going to do like a mountain of cheese. So we want this, we're going to need to get this in pretty close to this product, and we also need to get the angle of this up. We're going to have this looking up at the product pretty high. So it's going to be important for us to set this whole area up where I can get the camera in close to the product, and then I can get the backdrop in where it needs to be as well. And we have a tight space to work in, so the Platypods are really going to help us get all these materials in where we need them. Our Platypod Maxes, these are really instrumental in getting lights in really close or in positions that we can't normally get them with a regular light stand. So if I need something low to the ground to give me more of a gradient on my background, then I need to get my light down low, and this is the perfect platform for that. While we're working on the stage here, we're going to be using these gooseneck arms with the Platypod Ultra. And how this is going to work are one end that we get to put into the Platypod. We're probably going to be using a few of these at a time. Let's separate them a little bit here. And then we're going to use mirrors that I've attached to the gooseneck arms. And with this, we're going to be able to get this in and around and really focus light in areas that we need it. On this side, we have clamps. So we can put these clamps. The tops of these all have little quarter inch 20 screw threads. So I've manipulated a bunch of my things in here in the studio. I can get a fill card on here, and again, get this in, move it around, position it where we need to. So these are really handy. Most of the time, if I'm working with this on a light stand, this is as close as I can get to with it, you know? And I might be able to put an arm on this to get something where I need it to be, but this is just so much more convenient, so much easier. I can really put this anywhere that I need it to go, and I can get that light where I need it. And with commercial photography, we're pinpointing this light, and it's so important, especially in my work. I'm very specific about my lighting, and so I want to make sure that that lighting is exactly where we want it. Hang out with us for a minute, and we'll come back and when we get ready to start shooting. All right. We don't really need a big light source in here, and the smaller our light source, the harder our shadows. And we want a lot of depth in the product, so we really kind of need a smaller light source. So this strip box will be good. It'll give us some harder shadows, and then we're going to also use the grid in here to really direct the light and make sure that we're controlling, very much controlling the light source, and we don't have a lot of spill going places that we don't want it. All right, so we have our first shot out of the camera, and we have our one light set up, and we're gonna see how far this one light takes us before we start bringing in another light. A lot of times you'd be surprised what one light can do, especially when we start bouncing light back into places that we need it. So the first thing we need to do is just see how much light we can get back into the scene with a simple whiteboard. Okay, that's got a lot of good light coming back into the scene. So I think we're going to be good with just putting a whiteboard in as a reflector. And this is a perfect example of when the Platypod Ultras with the gooseneck arms are going to come in handy, because I want to get this, I can get this board in there to reflect for fill light, and I'll just use the one that I have with the clamp on it. So one of the things that I wanted to cover real quick is, a lot of people say, Aaron, why aren't we just shooting this on a tripod at the end of the table? And this is exactly why. Because if our camera was on a tripod at the end of the table, this would not have any place to sit, okay? We need some room around the camera, around this area, to be able to control and get all these pieces and parts into where they need to be. And we don't want to have a whole bunch of stands around the tabletop. If I had stands all around the tabletop with arms mounted on them and everything, I'd never be able to get into my set. So these are the perfect tool for this job. And just like with anything, you want to use the best tool for the job. And that's exactly what the Platypods are. So now we just need to get this card in the right position to be able to reflect the light back into the scene. And my larger card was getting into the scene, and we don't want that. Plus, if I have the big card here, then I can't get around anything to get to the set. I've actually taken a standard studio clamp and I've attached it to the top of the gooseneck. The gooseneck has a 1/4 inch 20 thread screw for attaching items like the electrolytes and anything else that might go on the top. Also to attach 2 goosenecks together. If I needed to get up higher, we could actually attach 2 of these. And we need a little bit more power behind this one. So we're gonna go to our Platypod Max. We're gonna put that right about there. Now this is a broad light, and it's just going to get, and you can see it's not reflective, it's just the white. So we're gonna have, this is just gonna push in a nice soft fill light. It's when we get into using the mirrors that we're gonna really get those pops of light where we want them. And the nice thing too is, again, using the Platypods, I can get these in and around other things and get these mirrors exactly where I need them. So I've got a lot of flexibility here, and at the same time I can still work on the set, which is great, because half the time when I'm working on something, I've got so many stands and modifiers and fill cards and mirrors and everything attached to stands, it was getting crazy. I couldn't even get into my set. And so I looked for a solution, and Platypod was that solution, and it's been great. I can get around the set, I can move around my items, I can still get in here and make adjustments to the camera, to the set, to the subject matter, and without disturbing any of these different stands. So next we are, so we have our main product and we have our fill light. I'm going to worry about the pinpoint spotlighting at the end. Next thing we're going to do is we need to get in a background. So we're not going to shoot this on black. We want to get something behind there. So we're going to work on getting that in to place, and then we'll work on the lighting a little bit more. So obviously you can't see the backdrop at the moment because there's no light on it. Here, right here in our subject, we've got our softbox, our strip box with a grid on it. It's directing all of its light directly here and only here. So this is going completely black. So we need to throw a little bit of light in there, and we're going to use a Platypod Ultra to mount the speed light. We need our adapter so that we can get to the smaller thread. We're going to put the little speed light clamp on there. Good. We're going to put this on remote, and we'll set this, we'll start this at about 1/32 power. We'll see where we're at. Now, of course, it's important that the slave eye is pointing towards our main light, so we just need to position this in such a way that we're going to get a good pop of light from it. And we want this light to just kind of come up from the bottom and gradiate up, which it's doing perfectly. Oh my gosh, look at that. All right, so I love that pop of light that that little speed light is giving us. And being that we're only at 1/32 power, we can work with that and beef it up some more. But we do need a little bit more light on this backdrop just to even it out, because we don't want it to gradiate so quickly from, you know, super bright to black. So we're going to get another light out and get a little bit more light on this backdrop, and then we'll keep moving forward. So you can see just in behind, underneath the garlic and the Parmesan, you can see that light coming in, that really harsh highlight there. So we want to dull that down or get rid of it completely. We've got a couple of different options for that, so we want to show both of those. First off, you've got the spikes that come with the accessory kit with the Platypod Ultra, and we can use these, put these in, and just raise this up a little bit. Simple, quick, easy to put in. For anybody that's used a Platypod before, you know that this is you know how you get these to stand on rough terrain or spike into the ground. Lots of different uses for this. But in our case, we just need to get this up a little bit higher. So we'll be able to put that where we need it that way. Now, if we didn't have the spikes, or if we wanted to do something different, you can also take two of these gooseneck arms and actually put them together. So the two gooseneck arms can attach to one another and then attach to the Ultra, and then you've got something a little bit higher and taller. But we didn't need to go double the height, we just needed to go a little bit. So I think the spikes here are going to be the perfect solution to that. Get that in there, that way it's not coming out the ends, and we're only blocking the light just behind through the center there where we're seeing it in the frame. Perfect. Okay, so next up is with this wide angle view of our scene, we're distorting or we have this really hero tall backdrop, and we want to change that a little bit. And the way that we're going to do that is just to angle it down towards the camera a little bit more, so that we have it's a little bit more straight on to camera. Okay, that's better. All right, so we have the general overview of our photograph here. Everything's looking good. I like the placement of all of the different materials and all of the different subject matter. I'm liking the lighting. We've got that dialed in. Now, this is where we're going to take that little bit extra step, and we're just going to add a little bit of that extra in there to really make this whole thing pop. And so you can see in right in here, there's a little bit of a shadow that I'm not liking on this one garlic clove. We need to highlight that a little bit. On the edge of this cheese, we can get some light in there to really highlight the texture on the side. So we're going to come back to our platypods, our friends, and we're going to start getting some of this really pinpointed light in there. So let's start with the first one being the edge of this cheese. All right, so we've got it in position here now, and there are not too many things that would be able to fit in exactly where we need it here. The fact that I can get this in exactly where I need it and really pinpoint this light is what's gonna make the difference between a good image and a great image. So here we're gonna take our little mirror, and I just want, and what we're doing is we're getting this from our modeling light. We're seeing a little bit from the modeling light. We're angling that light right back up where we want it, and that strobe is going to hit that mirror, and boom, look at that. That is gorgeous. Yes, nailed it. Okay, all right, so that's one, right? What was the other one that we said we were going to put in on that garlic clove? We want to get a little bit in that area that's down there. So we're going to take another one of our mirrors, attach it to the 1/4 20 thread that's at the top of the gooseneck, And now we know that this is where it needs to be, right? And we know where it was, so we can actually just take this out for a moment, leaving everything where it is, so that we can attach our other one, and then when we put this back into the same spot, it's going to be exactly where we need it. I think that's about it. Let's fire that off, and let's see. Perfect. All right. So you can see, you know, a lot of photographers would probably go in and just dodge and burn and just bring up the shadows a little bit in this area rather than fussing with all that, right? But it's just different. You're just getting something a little different when you're putting the real light into the scene and then accentuating it in post. You're not trying to create something new in post. You're just trying to bring out what we're already creating here. But as you can see from our setup here, like what else can get into that spot, right? What else could get into this in this close of a setup and get us what we needed from this setup. All right, so we're happy with that. We're good. We're excited. We're going to do a bit of a focus stack. I'm not going to do a whole thing on focus stacking, but if you've never heard of it, basically what we're doing is we are taking image slices of image that are in focus from the beginning, from the front of the image to the back of the image, and then we're going to put all those slices of focus back together in post-production, so that we can see focus from the front of the first garlic to the back of the Parmesan. Because even at f14, which requires a lot of light, we're only getting from the front garlic to, you know, maybe just about halfway through the Parmesan, and we really want all the way through. So we're going to get a couple of different slices, and I'm just going to take this and I just shift my focus back a little bit, take a shot, shift focus back, take a shot, shift focus back, take a shot. And this is also one of the reasons why it's so important to have tools like this set up to be able to hold all these things, because it's not like you can, even if your camera's on a tripod, it's not like you can just get in there with a mirror and throw a little bit of light somewhere, or even with 2 mirrors, right? Or 3 if you've got more arms or somebody triggering the camera for you. But the thing is that it is not duplicatable. If you can't put it in the spot where it needs to be and have it stay there permanently, then you can't duplicate that. So something like this, where I'm doing a focus stack, you wouldn't be able to do unless those pieces of the photograph were locked down and locked into place. So that's another reason why having that stability and having all those pieces and parts and tools around are so important. Okay, and so that is the finished image with the focus stack. You can see focus from the front of the garlic all the way through to the back of the Parmesan, but the background stays nicely out of focus, and that's our image.